So today, on Chattin with an Expert's Expert, we do indeed have an expert of experts. However, he's a fellow expert.
Yes.
We'll leave it at that.
Yes.
Mr. Raj Ramdeholl.
That's right.
Thank you for coming today.
Listen, I appreciate you having me, Mr. Super Chill Mike.
Oh, yeah. Just
All
want
right.
to make sure the audience recognizes.
I love it. Listen, Super Chill Loan Officer, man. I need to get my glasses.
I'm going to keep these on the whole time.
I love it.
That's it. Yeah.
Listen, appreciate you having me on here. I know we've been talking about this.
Sure, yeah.
We got a lot of people that are going to be looking and like, so you've got two loan officers on a podcast together. Like, how does that happen, right?
Wait. Isn't he a manager?
Yeah.
Isn't he a manager? Wait.
You know those text messages are going to start coming through the DMs.
Coming.
What's happening? What's going on?
Put your phone on silent. Vibrate. Put it on silent. So as far as Raj, having you here is awesome. I know that we still keep in touch and
Yes.
we talk and communicate.
Yes.
And it's just it's definitely just a different kind of vibe.
Oh man,
having you in here because like I've learned from you, you've learned from me, we've learned from each other, and just as far as growing into a loan officer. But where I want to start is your passion for real estate and mortgages.
Yeah,
I know you got a lot of love in that.
Absolutely.
Where did that stem from?
But before I even get to that, one thing I do want to say is I'm happy.
I'm taking the glasses off, just so you know.
No problem. The reason why I'm happy to be a part of this is it goes to show that there is something amazing when guys in the same industry collaborate. A lot of people in this particular type of industry in real estate, it's always an ego, a competition about who's better. I know more, I'm better, I've been longer in this, or whatever it is. And no one wants to actually sit down and work together. And some guys even talk about, collaboration and collaborating is greater than competition, but they never ever do it, right? So we're doing something that actually isn't being done out there and having fun and learning from each other and sharing with each other. So I hope a lot of people can look at this and realize that, listen, you can work at different companies and be competitors, but still collaborate and bring something great to the viewers that are out there.
Right, absolutely, yeah. Well put. More than just like you could still have a friendship, but
Exactly.
also have a business kind of like alliance at the same way, to where it's like, okay, what's working for you? What's working for me? And just kind of collaborate in that
the
sense.
beauty of that is, like you said, right? You're working with certain clients, with certain agents, with certain referral sources. So am I. So there is insights that you might have into the people you're dealing with that I can learn from.
Right.
Similar, there's things that I can help you with and show you. So why wouldn't we want to do that? Because it only helps our business to elevate and grow.
Absolutely.
And that's why I say, too often guys are just too small-minded about that stuff, and they don't understand that, hey, man, we all can learn from each other and still do absolutely amazing and grow together and be friends together.
Yeah.
Listen, I feel like, we work here together. I feel like, I'm here and we work in the same space together. That's how much fun it's been.
Yeah, absolutely. So now, like, where did that passion come from as far as, like, the mortgages and because the mortgages came before the real estate, right?
So here's the thing. I got into the business at 21. I was married.
You were married at 21?
I was.
I never knew that about you.
Yeah. Got married at 21. Needed a job. My first job was in a hospital. They were closing down, so they
Can I
laid me.
ask you, what were you doing before
Yeah.
21? Before you got married?
Before I was in college.
That's it.
I was in college working.
A regular student.
Happened to just meet a wonderful woman that, I was the guy talking about, I'm not getting married until I'm 40, and at 21, that was it. It was over. So, got married at 21, needed a job. My father says to me, hey, man, there's a mortgage company that's hiring. Why don't you try it out? Because my background was economics and finance. Okay. And he goes, listen, why don't you just check it out to see what they have to offer, or whatever the case was, right? I step in there. They had a 2-week training. And what they would basically do is they had a bunch of people that they would bring in for that 2 weeks. So it was me and about 16 other people. And you go through all this like course and training, and then they kind of handpick who they think after that 2 weeks they're going to bring on. I walk in there. I've got no sales experience. I've got no background in anything. I'm sitting next to realtors, guys in the insurance industry, other loan officers.
Right.
And I'm like, there's no way they're gonna even hire me. I don't know anything about selling. But what I did was, I'm like, look, anything else that I do, if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it to the best of my ability and just give it 110%. So back then, and I'm dating myself again.
Were
back
you nervous at that point?
I'm sitting in there and I'm like,
it sounds like,
why am I even wasting 2 weeks? Because I know they're not going to hire me.
Right.
There's no way I can sell anything. I don't know how to sell anything. I don't know how to talk about mortgages. I know nothing about that. And I'm 21 years old. I'm sitting in there with guys in a class that are like 40 years old, 30 years old. I'm like, it's just
Guys
a waste of my
family.
But now here's the thing. I'm like, I can't go over to my wife and be like, yeah, it's not going to work out, and plus it was just that within me that I never give up on anything. Like that's just not my mentality. Just never been in my blood. I will try anything and give it 110%. So I bought a book called Mortgages for Dummies and read it cover to cover. And then during class I would ask questions and I had a little decent knowledge about it because I read it. Turned out, after the 2 weeks, me and 4 other guys, got interviewed to be hired, and the sales manager at that time, he goes to me, he's like, I don't know what it is, man, but there's just something about you that I want to give you a shot. I think you might do well at this, and I'm like, listen, I'll take the opportunity and try my best,
Sure.
And I never forget my first month. I closed my first deal. I was the first out of the 4 guys to get a deal my first month. By my second month, I closed 2 deals.
And you got your fattest check.
And then, I saw that. And that motivation at that age, I was motivated and, I was like, all right, yeah, this is great. And then the rest was just history, man. It just started from there.
That's awesome, man.
It's crazy how sometimes people just fall into something that was meant for them. And I think anyone that's crossed paths with me, whether family, friends, or even clients, and they're like, you were meant for this. Like this is what you were meant to do. You love helping people. You love the numbers. You have insights into all these things, and you're just always looking at how to better your craft. And that's how it started. I fell in love with it, and I could never in my entire life see me doing anything else.
So that's interesting because we're gonna get to a question a little later for me. But you know what it is? I think your presence is just so positive to where even when I first met you, I had an office like a few offices down.
Yeah.
And just that positive presence is just something that likability factor to where
it's your energy, man.
The one thing to where I've told my guys and I tell other guys who are starting out is as far as when it comes to the whole selling and the likability factor, there's selling, right?
Yep.
And being good at, and then there's networking.
Yes.
So the selling is one thing to where you can be a beast on the phone, but that networking aspect of things, you can only network when people like you. They don't, you can't keep going around.
And I got to tell you, for me, and this has just been my entire career, I personally enjoy working with my clients. It's like I'm speaking to family. Whether it's in person, it's hugs and, we're just laughing. And honestly, even when I sit down with a client, even if it's to discuss, the mortgage side of things, I'd say 80% of it is personal, just us having conversations, just getting to know each other, like if we're close friends, family members and whatever. Right. And then the 20% of the business gets done after. Right. Same thing on the phone. And that's the one thing, it's funny, that was the first lesson that I learned when I made my first call, or I was on my first call with a client. I never forget, I had a script. Remember, I never sold anything. So they gave us scripts. And it was something like, Mr. Customer, what is it that you're looking to do? How can I assist it? And I'm literally kind of reading it verbatim. Right. And the guy goes, I swear to God, the guy goes, it sounds like you're reading the script. And I laughed. And I was
Did he hang up?
No. And I was like, no, I'm just having, but I kind of played it off.
Were you cold calling?
And so it was a call that came in. Unfortunately, it was a warm lead. It was a warm lead, but I didn't know how to handle it. And so I'm reading off the script, and then I just threw it aside, and I honestly I started to have a real conversation. I was like, so tell me, what is it? What are you trying to do?
Right.
Right. What are you gonna do the refi for? You taking money out? What's your goal? And we just started having a really great conversation. And 45 minutes later, the guy's like, all right, so what documents do I need to get you so we could start? And I'm like, that's it? Just having just an honest conversation,
Right.
just like what we're doing right now. That's how I speak. That's how I interact with my clients. And not everybody has the ability to do that. And so that's where you talk about the likability factor.
Sure, yeah.
What guys don't understand, it's your presence, it's your energy. When you get on the phone even, people can sense that, right? People can feel that through the phone. And
Yeah.
when you're sitting with them, and it might not even be about mortgages, but they're just like, man, I got to work with this guy.
Yeah, of course.
I just want to, I just trust this guy.
Yeah, or it could be the opposite of like, this guy's having a bad day.
Right.
So it's that kind of like presence. And you know what, you actually brought back a memory, and I'm gonna add this out there to where when I was, this is right before I was 20, because I started like cold calling when I was 19 in college. And I remember cold calling, and I have these warm leads, allegedly.
Yeah.
And I get this guy on the phone, and then he's like, "Oh, I own multiple properties in the boroughs, blah, blah, blah." He goes, "Do you guys do a SEMA?" And I didn't know what a SEMA was.
Right.
So I was like, just the way it was if you qualify for it, sure, we'll be more than happy to do it. And then he's like, "Oh, so do you do SEMAs?" I'm like, well, yeah, if you qualify for it, and it's like, wait, but I'm just asking you point blank, do you do them? I'm like, yes, sir, we do them. If you're eligible, yes.
Right.
And he's like, do you even know what a SEMA is, kid? And I'm like,
he got me. He saw right
gave
through
it to me.
Yeah.
And then right then and there.
Yep.
Anytime. CMA, Consolidation Extension Modification Agreement. It's when you take. So now it's like it's embedded in my. But that's like the.
And I tell anybody, it's a business you have to learn hands on.
Right.
You can't prep yourself. You just have to be on that call and be stumped, and then you're like, yeah, it's never gonna happen again. Because now I'm gonna go make sure I know exactly what that is. Like you just said, I knew exactly what a SEMA was, how to explain it, how to break it down, all of that.
I was like, screw my manager.
Because it's never gonna happen to me again.
Right,
exactly. And that's going back to the original question, man. That's why I love what I do.
It's awesome, man. It's awesome. Love the passion and the vibe. So now we're gonna get into the nitty gritty.
All right, you're putting me in the hot seat. Okay.
What is going on in this market right now?
Oh, man.
Because consumers are confused. Seasoned professionals are confused.
Yeah.
What's going on in the market?
Listen, I think there's obviously a lot of volatility in the market, especially recently when you're looking at what's been happening with SV Bank and now the banking sector, and then, Credit Suisse, and everyone's like, oh my God, 2008 is going to happen again. Like banking is going to go under. And
wait, so it brought back a memory for you too of like
I've been through it, right?
That 2008, I'm like, whoa.
So I've been through it. I was there when I thought my career was over, and thankfully, when you do business the right way, you actually increase in those times because people look for who they can really trust, and they're looking for credibility. So it kind of brings back some of those memories, but it's going to be a very different situation now versus then. I think at the end of the day, two things, right? We're talking about home buyers. We're talking about people that want to buy homes and then the business side of things in real estate. I just taught a class on this and I explained my reasons why I believe if you're a buyer right now, it's still a great time. And the reason why I'm saying that is very simple, right? If you were buying a house 2 years ago, if that house was selling for $500,000, the only way you were getting that house was because of all the bidding wars. You probably had to, purchase it at $600,000.
Right.
So you were paying $100,000 above asking price to get a house, right? So yeah, the rate was great, but you were literally overpaying, 20% for a house.
True.
Now, if that house is going for $600,000, you have a chance of getting that house for $600,000. Maybe a little less, maybe $590, maybe even a little more at $605. But the reality is you're a whole lot closer to where that asking price is.
Right.
I look at that as a discount. Because again, if I'm paying 20% or 10% or 15% or 30% a year and a half ago over what the property was selling for, and now I'm paying the actual price, well, now I'm not paying that extra 10, 20, 30%, right? So that's how I look at it as a discount. The other way I look at it as I get in now, interest rates come down the next year and a half, 2 years. People jump back into the market like what we saw in the pandemic. Everyone's now buying because rates are down. Everyone's rushing. And what's going to happen again? people are going to start overbidding on
Cutthroat.
properties. People are going to start, waiving contingencies, paying $100,000 more. So the same $600,000 house that I'm buying now, someone's probably going to pay $700,000 for that a year or two from now when rates come back down a lot. So even if I get in right now at $600,000, I've been paying down my mortgage. The value is now going up because the demand's there. People are going to drive the prices up. So my value is going to go up in a year. So I'm golden. And I guess what? I refi and get the lower rate anyway when that happens.
Right.
So I think right now, and I've been really preaching this, if you are a buyer, you should absolutely look at getting into it right now.
And it's funny you say that because it's not even like at the point to where, okay, it can help you, it can help me, but listen, if you can't afford it and if it's not within your comfort zone, then don't buy.
Absolutely.
Go rent.
Absolutely.
Rent is expensive, but go and rent.
Right.
You know, but
Yeah.
if you have the ability to, it's the whole the date the rate, marry the home.
Right.
I've been preaching because half my pipeline is full of investors now because buying and flipping is no longer in style. Your margins thinned out so much. So I'm like, date the rate, marry the rental.
Yeah.
Because if you're net flow positive, cash. If your cash flow is net, you're netting 300. That's going to eventually turn to 7, 8, 900.
That's right. And here's the other thing that a lot of regular consumers don't understand. Right. I look at what Chase is doing, buying, spending $1.2 billion on buying single family homes. I look at BlackRock doing the same thing. I look at all these major companies that are literally getting into the space of buying real estate. Number one, they're hedging against inflation. Number two, they're looking at market appreciation. And number three, they're looking at, hey, if I can now keep taking off supply and demand is still there, I'm still going to keep the price of homes on the rise. So I'm still making sure that my value is there and I'm keeping that investment solid. What the average buyer isn't realizing is like, hey man, these guys are investing, I should be too, because if they want me to rent.
Right.
So me renting and not buying is playing into exactly what they want me to do.
Yeah.
So I agree with you 100%. Like if someone can qualify right now, and I tell people all the time, even if you can't qualify by yourself, I'm sure you've got a relative that's probably renting. You might be paying $2,500, they might be paying $2,500. Both of you are wasting money because you're never going to get that back, and you need to get in now because that you can buy a house, build equity, refi a year or two from now, take some money out, you go buy your house, the other one keeps it, or go buy two houses. But the point is, your money is going towards something that you're going to get in value back versus renting.
Absolutely, yeah, an asset. So as far as, with that being said, for a lot of individuals right now, you see a lot of loan officers who they're struggling. Yeah. And you have a lot of people who are getting out of the industry. One of my favorite things that you did was when you did a post to where you're like, your local real estate
have you hugged
professional. When's the last time you gave him a hug? Yep. Next time you see him, give him a hug. That was honestly, I remember watching that and telling other people in my office, I was like, that was good. Because you know what? It's spot on. Yeah. Spot on. Yeah. And so as far as what's two things, if you can go unlimited, because obviously there's so many different creative things you could do. Yeah. If you could limit it to two things that a loan officer right now who's really trying to just make ends meet and continue to have a healthy pipeline, what would you advise them to do?
Okay, so number one, I think it's a no-brainer, and it's got to be social media. You have to have a presence. Because here's how I looked at it. And again, you see, I have something to compare it to because I looked at what worked in 2008, right? I looked at when, 70% of, or 60 to 70% of real estate agents fell out of the business in 08. 60 to 70% of loan officers fell out of the industry in 08. So what kept me in place, I looked at it as a race. I just got to keep consistent, stay consistent, right? As long as I do that, honestly, I believe other people are going to fall out. And when they fall out, I'm going to gain their market share. So that's number one. You have to just be consistent. I'm glad that you said
that. I hate to cut you off, but because my social media manager is going to see, Mike, I said, consistency's key. 3 times a week.
And it is but here's what it is. People are looking for legitimate guys that are out there, loan officers, gals as well. But people are looking for credibility. And so what loan officers, real estate agents, just people in general don't understand about social media. It's not about what you're putting out there necessarily, but it's the fact that people get to see it as a resume. When people look at your videos and they're like, man, the stuff that this guy is talking about is so relevant, he's got to be knowledgeable, right? He looks, his stuff is credible. So now they've got the credibility factor, they got everything else that they're getting to see. So the next step is, that's the guy I need to work with.
Right.
And that's what's going to separate you from a lot of the guys that just are like, I'm going to keep doing the old school way. I'm going to go to my referral sources and, talk to realtors. And that worked 10, 15 years ago. And it might even work to a small percentage now. But the real way to get out there and market yourself, it is social media. All right. So that's number one. And number two, you have to really be able to, stay consistent in looking at where markets are going, market trends, right? And I tell like all my staff, I tell everybody, I'm like, you've got to double down on whatever you're doing. I've always looked at it this way: when people stop spending is when you need to spend, right?
Well,
so when people are like, I gotta now tighten up my wallet and my budget and not spend money because I don't know where business is coming from, I'm like, spending, putting myself out there, pushing my business, doing everything I can to literally get my name and my face out everywhere. Because here's why. They start pulling back, I start moving forward. Right. Everyone sees me, they don't see them, I get their share. I get their market share. Yeah. That's how it works.
You're right. You're 100% right. I thought the same thing going into the new year. That was one of the goals. Yeah. To whereas like for me personally was, I just need to keep doing what I'm doing, but more.
Because I see opportunity,
spend.
And when it's unfortunately, it's like stocks, and I really kind of compare it to that a lot of times, right? You look at the savvy people. They look at when markets are in turmoil, they see opportunity. They look at, wow, this is a chance for me to make money, because like when we looked at it, during COVID, the market fell from, I think it was like 30,000 for the Dow down to like 16,000, and people were panicking like, oh my God, I want to pull my money out of stocks, and the savvy people were like, wow, this is like Christmas because I'm getting 50% off everything, and I'm just spending, buying stocks. It's the same thing with mortgages, right? If everyone's pulling back, that's your cue to be like, yes, this is my all in now. And so that would be my advice to real estate agents, loan officers. You can't pull back right now.
I like that. Double down.
You got to double down.
Whatever you're doing that's working, double down.
Yeah, and don't be afraid. Look, one area or one aspect might not work, but again, if you pull yourself out there and push it out there and throw and cast a wide net, you are going to catch.
There you go. So listen, with all that knowledge now, I'm going to go take it a different direction. So, all right. If you had a famous director, it's like Spielberg, some big dog, right? Comes and he's like, Raj, all this knowledge, I love what you've done, where you came from, right? I love you being a 21-year-old, right? Not knowing anything about real estate, getting married. Yeah. Who would you choose to play you in a movie?
All right, that's interesting.
Who's going to play your teenage life and who's going to play your current adult life? Give me two actors.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Wow. All right, you got me a little stumped there, but for me, I'm going to answer it this way. I think about, when I look at a character that I think best relates to me and really embodies who I was younger throughout my career and even now. I don't know if you've ever looked at Power.
What's Power?
But Ghost. Ghost is my guy. Okay. I think,
Well, you couldn't say Tommy Egan because he's more of a street guy.
But Ghost buttons up his suit and he gets to business. He knows he's got the swag. He knows how to speak well. He knows how to move. He's playing chess. He knows how to move the pieces. Right. But more importantly, he always has it played out 4 or 5 moves ahead. So I think Ghost really shows where I started from in my humble beginnings, and fortunately for me, where I am now. Nice. I think that's the best character.
So you think like from his growth in like the sitcom on the show, from him, like being that teenage, because he grew up in the hood, nothing, and just kind of
same thing. Again, when I think about where I came from in the industry, as I said, a kid. Not knowing anything, never selling anything, but had that motivation from within that I'm going to be better. I'm going to keep going at this, and I'm going to be the best that I can be. And, for me, as I said, there's never been any doubt in my mind of if I put my mind to something, I can't achieve it, right? I've always believed I'm a winner. There's never a day that I wake up and I think I'm losing. In a down market, like I said, I'm excited. People think I'm crazy. I get excited waking up in a market when there's turmoil, and I'm like, I got to get to work. Yeah. I can't sleep the night before because I'm thinking of all the opportunities that are there.
Right.
And so I think that's the difference, that I think because I've had to really motivate myself and push myself to drive and work my way through the system, I think that's always led to success.
Get this.
So for me, man, I think that truly speaks about my story.
So now, as far as like, with just like you, even when we first met and everything, like, were you always just a leader? Did you always have those like leadership qualities? Was that something that like,
it's funny?
Did you grow into it, or?
So it's funny you say that, but I've always been that my entire life. Like, I've always been where people have just naturally gravitated to me. In junior high school, elementary school, high school, college, I've always just naturally had people come up to me like, man, you're just a really cool guy. It just, I just like something about you. And I've always naturally had that. Like, I remember I was 18 in college that I used to give people that were like 22, 23 advice. They would just literally come to me for advice and just be like, I don't know what it is, but I just feel like I could talk to you.
It's that comfortability.
It is.
Factor
it is.
too,
But you know what it is? I honestly believe in people, and I have respect for people. And I think once you come from that place where you don't have an ego, you don't have that pride, but you come at people where, look, we're on the same level, and you just be real with people, they identify with that. Yeah. And you don't find that. Again, I come from an old school place of, respect is important, honor.
Sure.
Those are really important things that I live by. So I think, those ways it's a rare thing to find right now, and just a lot of people in general, honor, integrity, when you find that, you just naturally gravitate to it.
Yeah.
So I think I've always been a leader.
Nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
That's it.
It's
exactly.
that just like point blank, to where you could be the biggest guru, but if you genuinely don't care about,
yes,
the person that you're doing business with, or a friend, relationship,
That's what I tell people all the time. I mean, and you see this, right? Like, you see how that comes across when your clients are sitting with you and they see that you actually care. That it's not like, hey, come sit down, here are your mortgage terms, your sign here. There's no relationship that's there, right? But when they come in and you sit down and we're just having a conversation and, hey, how's your day going? How are the kids? How's the pet? Hey, how's the vacation? What's going on? How's everything going? You show that you actually care about them as an individual versus the business. That's what they want. I know for me, I'm in the same boat. If I go buy a car and a guy's just literally like, just coming at me with numbers versus the guy that's, the numbers are secondary, and it's like, hey man, how's it going? Just having a regular conversation. That's the guy that I want to have my business. Right. Not the guy the guy that's just coming straight with the numbers might be giving me a great deal, but I don't want to deal with him. Right, I want to deal with that personality, that person that I connect with.
But that's what makes you a awesome salesperson. Because you understand that, you understand the consumer, how
that's
people right. Emotions are big when it comes to any sale. Yeah. We happen to deal with one of the most emotional purchases that someone could ever do.
That's right. So and you just said it, right? You identify with what they're going through.
Right.
You understand the anxiety. You understand that they're nervous, and am I getting the right mortgage? Am I buying the right house? Can I afford this? Can I? If they were to walk in and you're just like, pardon my language, but you don't give a shit about that, and you're just like signing here, there's no trust that's there.
Right.
But you know what? If you kind of bring yourself to them and be like, listen, I know this is a lot. I understand that. It's confusing. There's anxiety. You're nervous. You want to, and they're like, oh my God, yes, you understand. Right. They now feel a level of comfort, like, oh, this guy gets it. Right?
Right, yeah.
And so that's the important part, is like you said, putting yourself in their shoes and understanding what, because we get numb to this. Think about it, like you go for surgery and the doctor's like, we're freaking out, and the doctor's job is to make you feel comfortable and calm, right? And put your trust in him. And if he's just like, in and out the door and not even taking that time, I'm like, oh crap, I'm nervous. But if he makes me feel relaxed and calm, it's like, hey, don't worry, listen, I've done this 1,000 times. I get it, you're nervous, you're not used to this. Hey, this is, by the way, this is the plan, this is what I'm gonna be doing, this is how I'm gonna perform the surgery, blah, 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 blah,
right.
This is what I'm gonna do. All of a sudden, that anxiety goes, and you're like, all right, I'm in good hands.
Great analogy.
Right?
So now if we were to go, I don't know if you're gonna go the doctor route, but let's restrict yourself of real estate mortgages, right? Because I think everybody hears as far as like when you put your mind to something, you don't stop.
Yeah.
And even when someone tells you no, you don't stop.
Nope.
You push maybe harder.
Absolutely.
So if mortgages and real estate just was crossed off the list of what you could do, what would be Raj's career number 2?
Passion for medicine. It ties back into
what a segue. That's why you use the
funny,
doctor
right?
analogy.
And I'll tell you why. So my first of all, so my mother was a nurse, operating room nurse for 40 odd years. At 15, I volunteered in a hospital in the OR. So I used to watch actual surgeries. I used to go into the rooms, see the surgeries that were being performed. And people thought I was crazy at 15 years old. Like, this kid loves to see blood and people getting sutured and, taking out a spleen.
Like
and,
you Dexter?
Exactly, right? But you know what it was? I had a love for it. So then my first real job in the hospital, I was a clerk in the ER. And, it's crazy because all the doctors and nurses fell in love with me because I had a passion for it. So they would actually bring me to the front when they triage their clients, right? See how you said it's like the same thing, right?
You did.
So when they triage their patients, like I would be there and it was the same thing. And this is how it plays into mortgages. So they would come in, they talk about what their illness is and what they're feeling, their symptoms. And then we would basically say, based on those symptoms, what tests are we going to run? So we're going to do blood work, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. The blood work then is going to reveal if there's high levels of white blood cells, that means there's an infection. Okay, so now we know we've got it's like a problem, and you're looking at how to solve it, right? So based on what the reports come back on, we'll determine what we do next to figure out what the final analysis of what to do. And these doctors were just amazed at how much of a passion I had for it because I love this stuff, man. It's just, for me, at that point, I was already in economics, already in finance, just, like I said, had gotten married, and I was like, I'm not going to do another 10 years of college and all that kind of stuff. But I thoroughly, absolutely 1,000% love medicine, and I think that's what has helped me in mortgages because I look at it the same way. A client sits down with me, I triage that situation. It's gonna have its complexities, right? Because some are more complex than others, but I just look at it as this puzzle that I'm like, okay, so you're self-employed, you did this, you did that, here's this. And I'm like, okay, what kind of loan product can we structure this into? And boom, here we go.
So you're problem solving.
That's it. Love it.
Problem solving.
I've said this, and I think you've seen this on one of my shows that I did. The best loan officers are the best problem solvers. You problem solve every single day.
That's
and the better you can be at it, the better loan officer you are. Because that's what this business is. You're taking somebody's situation and you're problem solving and you're figuring out, okay, how do I turn, twist, do this, structure that, put this in. I know my products, this fits in here. Okay, boom, here we go.
And the cut and dry situations are fantastic.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, but
I love
the
those
ones to where you really gotta take the cufflinks off,
roll them up,
and just really get down to it.
But when you close that deal, you're like, yeah, I am that damn good. I am that damn good. I did it.
You're right. Amen, baby. Amen. So as far as when it comes down to, we got to eliminate medicine now. No medicine.
Right.
So just like personal Raj.
Yeah.
So no medicine, no making money, no real estate. What's one of your favorite things you just love to do?
So, I personally, I used to love playing basketball. That's as a kid, it's always been basketball. that's still my passion. But what I do want to learn how to do is surf. So I've been down in Florida.
Hey now.
I've been down in Florida back and forth, and where I am, it's you see these guys surfing at like 6 o'clock in the morning. They hop out. It's like 7:30. Get ready and go to work. And I'm like, man, I gotta surf.
But bro, they make it look so easy. You think they sit there like.
But I gotta, you see these waves, and I can see the adrenaline that's probably going through all of that, and I love that. And I'm like, I love to kind of like push myself to do things, and I'm looking at that, and I'm like, within the next year, that's it.
So you could swim.
I can swim.
A good swimmer.
I'm not scared about
You're a good swimmer.
I am.
Okay.
I'm not scared about that.
I was on the swim team, so don't start, my mother put me in that when I was 9, so I was on the swim team.
I look at again.
So
I can swim.
Ideas where,
I can swim. I'm good, but I'm telling you, man, we gotta do surfing. That's gonna be my new passion.
I've done like a boogie board when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But like the surfing, I remember I tried it once or twice because I thought it looked so cool, and you can't even stand.
You get slammed out by these waves.
I'm like, well, what's the point of this?
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. Golf is great. I know a lot of guys that do golf.
So you golf?
I try.
Because we've never golfed. That's good. You know how I opened a lot of seminars. I do like a Tiger Woods analogy.
Yeah.
And then I'll be like, so how many golfers do we have in a room?
Right.
By the show of hands.
Yeah.
And then my second question is, okay, how many people try and golf?
And everybody's hands.
Everybody a lot more hands.
Yeah. So like, and the reason why I'm going to say it like this, I'm like the Michael Jordan, right? Like anything I'm trying, I'm going to do 110% at it, and I'm going to try to perfect it, So I haven't really fully tried into the golf thing as yet, but I need to do that.
I think you should.
I think it'd be great.
I think that and surfing.
Yeah.
We have you come back in a year.
And see what works out.
We have Raj come back in a year.
Yeah, so listen, man, the surfing didn't work. I almost killed myself. Golfing, I messed my back up, and I kind of swung, and that was it. It's over. But yeah, I know you're a golfer, right?
I am a golfer.
Man.
I am a golfer. You know what it is?
You make it look so
golf
great.
At least, I try and golf at least once a week, and
I do play tennis though.
Oh, do you?
I do play tennis. Yes.
See, because tennis, you got to be an athlete's athlete to be an elite tennis player.
Listen,
have you ever seen someone overweight who has been a sick tennis player?
No, no.
Because they're all sick athletes.
That's right.
Sick athletes.
I love tennis.
LeBron James would probably be a sick tennis player.
I agree. I agree.
He'd be sick at anything. But yeah, exactly.
But
shout out to LeBron right there.
I hope you're following. Tag and share this.
Yeah,
But I play a little tennis. I do that.
Right,
like I said,
how often?
I used to play at least once or twice a week.
No shit. With who?
My brother. He was almost able to go pro. I mean, he was that good.
Wow.
He used to play at USTA.
So you got your ass kicked.
I did, and here's the difference. So I can kick his ass. I never had a coach. I literally taught myself playing against him how to play and how to win.
What's your strongest part of your tennis game?
My forehand.
Really?
Oh, dude,
I thought you were gonna say serve.
No, I crush it on the forehand.
On the forehand?
Good.
So
and my angles, like, there's some guys in here that I've played tennis with. They'll tell you.
If I play you, I go to your backhand. That's it.
It's okay. It's all right. Listen, you'll see the other side of my game.
He's like, I said it's my strongest, not my weakest.
That's right.
That's it.
That's right.
All right, good stuff. Well, Raj, it was awesome having you here, bro. Thank you for taking time out of your day.
Listen, I appreciate it,
right.
and look, I love the questions, man. I think this was great for the industry,
absolutely,
as a whole. I would love to see more of this out there, because like I said, it's a different time now, man, and it's nice to see guys that could come together, enjoy, just having a conversation, enjoying each other's success, right? Cheering and rooting each other on. Because we're all a part of the same team. We're all in the same industry, right? And so, why can't we cheer each other on and be happy?
You're right. Listen, I look at it as, in another 20 years, sipping a pina colada, playing a little tennis with you. A little backhand, maybe a little golf,
Yeah.
You'll smoke me in tennis, I'll smoke you in golf.
And then we'll go surf together. We're even at surfing.
Raj, thanks for coming down, bro.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you, brother. How long was that?
Just like I thought it would go. Call us.
Good solid.
Yep.
Wow, that time was perfect.